Welcome to this episode of Expedition to Soul. This is a coffee chat replay. So, once per week, I host a coffee chat in our community space. It's hosted in a software called Circle. It's where we host our communities for our programming. And most every Sunday, I host a coffee chat in there where we vision cast for the week ahead. We use practical tools like planning, but also the magical act of vision casting to align our lives to the way that we want to feel. And I usually bring a little extra oomph to these conversations as well. So today's podcast episode is a coffee chat replay. Sit back, unwind, grab a pen and paper, grab your planner, your vision board, and let's freaking do this. If the word witch makes you feel full of power and excitement, if you love personal development but loathe boring love and light conversation, if a sexy combo of witchery and inner work piques your interest, you're in the right place. Welcome home, Magic Maker, and welcome to Expedition to Soul, the podcast brought to you by the Sisters Enchanted.
Hello there, everybody. How are you all today? Welcome to this week's coffee chat. How is everybody today? In case you don't know me, hello, my name is Anna, and I am the co-founder here at the Sisters Enchanted, and I am taking over this week's coffee chat for Sarah. Sarah is away this week, driving to a family gathering, and so I'm here to get your butts in gear this week with coffee chat, and you're planning for the week ahead. Yeah, hi. Yeah, for this, in case you, like I said, if you didn't know me, I'm Anna, and I have already said, but I'm the co-founder here at the Sisters Enchanted, and I'm Sarah's real life sister, and I am our Chief Experience Officer here at the Sisters Enchanted, which means that every time we're doing anything live or preparing to do anything in any of our classes, in our communities, and all that good stuff, that I am here trying to make sure that that all gets to you in the cleanest and most cozy way possible, and always working on getting everything out to you the best way. Always moving and grooving here. So we are here this week for the coffee chat to get you ready for the week ahead, and also talk to you a little bit about what it's like, how to plan, especially when you get in your own way a little bit. As somebody who is a mapper in the expansion archetypes, which I am, I have been a mapper every time I do our expansion archetypes quiz. And a lot of times, if you aren't familiar with that quiz, it's something we have here at the Sisters Enchanted. And a lot of times people retake it and they get different results every time. Not me. No. I am always a mapper. And so I'm going to share with you some of the things that I do to help kind of get out of my own way. But first, let's get your cup of coffee. Let's sit down. Let's sit down and really take the reins for this week ahead and plan what we want to feel like at the end of this week. What do you want to feel like a week from now? You know, schedule in all your things. So let's do some of that, shall we? Let's talk about the energy. We have Leo new moon energy. All right. We just are celebrating that like energy of Lunasta. And we also have the Lionsgate portal that is happening in the background as well. And so this is a lot of great energy to start off a week. And why is that? Because Leo energy is really about taking ownership and leadership in our own, in our own lives. The sign of Leo, the symbol in astrology, is that of the lion. And the lion, you think of, I often say this when talking about Leo and astrology, is that Leo reminds me of Mufasa a lot in The Lion King, and just how steady and focused and empathetic but strong that archetype in a character is. And we have all of this Leo energy. We have the Leo new moon, like I said, the Lionsgate portal, which is going to be hitting kind of its peak of Lionsgate portalness on August 8th, but we're still in that kind of energy of it because it starts at the end of July. And it's this like alignment of, the Leo sun and the star Sirius and, Orion's belt and the earth making this kind of energetic portal, which if you ask anybody here at the Sisters Enchanted, we believe that that kind of energy is tappable at any time, but everybody's a unique individual, and you might be feeling some of this Lionsgate portal energy bubbling up inside you, telling you to take like a passionate action, right? So this week, I really want you to think about the coffee chat last week, the one before that, where you took some time to plan out your week. How did it go? Did you feel at the end of the week the way that you intended to feel when planning for your week ahead? Because Leo energy with this Lionsgate portal, with this new moon in Leo, it is, demanding of you taking leadership and ownership of your possibility, and being confident and like walking the walk that you want to walk. Because like I said, it's like Mufasa. He just does what he does, and he's so comfortable in his own skin and the way that he like rules everything. Sorry for the Lion King drop here, but it's like one of the best ways I can really think to describe what Leo energy in its best essence is like. So I want you to take a second and do what you do during these coffee chats. And that is look at your week ahead. How do you want to feel this week? And start by writing down all the things that you have to do this week. Carving out that time, being like, okay, I have to do this appointment. I have to go grocery shopping. I have to go to this play date. I have to take my pets to the vet this day. I have to do this. Start always with how you're going to align your week, with putting down the things that are non-negotiable at this time and getting all of those things sorted out. And then, looking at how much space you have left. Like how many things are on my to-do list that I have to get done? How much of it do I have to get done? And putting all of that out. I have to go grocery shopping on Monday. I have to, do this doctor's appointment on Wednesday, and get all those things written out. And then take a deep breath and look at how much time you have left in the week. And what can you do with that time to feel the way that you want to feel? And one thing that, before I even get into some of my mapper ideas that I have for all of you, is to take a second and think. So I know that a lot of times that like schedule keeping and calendar keeping is really great when you're trying to be time intentional and get to the space that you want to get at. But how often do we get in our own way of actually making that plan? Like, how often are we successful in like sticking to that time intentionalness? I know, for instance, Sarah is really good at scheduling out her time, and like really sticking to that, and like making time for her like intentional body movement, making time for, the meals that she wants to do, making time for all the fun things with her kids that she wants to do. And she's like really good at like maintaining that schedule. Me, on the other hand, because as I shared, I'm a mapper. I'm like always the most mapper that I can be. Like there's no other expansion archetype that even touches the amount of mapper that I have. That if I try to plan out my week, one moment of overwhelm or like one thing that didn't go to schedule can really throw off my week. And because of that, and because we can get into our own way, you can often make the excuse, I don't have time for that. Like, I don't have time to do the things that I said I was going to do to make myself feel the way that I want to feel. And I would say that if you're somebody who has a hard time making a plan for a week ahead, something that you can do to empower yourself and take confident action to be a leader in your own life, like Leo new moon, the energy that's happening in this Lionsgate portal, would be to stop and time track yourself for a minute, for a week. And be like, Anna, time tracking, that I don't want to time track, but to like really sit down and see like where you spent your time in a week. If you want to feel like more active, track how much time you spent like in your bed before you got up in the morning, doom scrolling, or how much time you binged watched a TV show, or how much time you spent like telling somebody about how life is so out of control, nothing's organized, nothing's the way that it should be, but didn't take action. Like, how much time did you actually put into other areas of your life that didn't actually help you meet your goal? And so sometimes taking a step back when you're planning to time track how much time that you're actually like spending on things that like aren't supporting how you want to feel. And because this is a new moon, and like I said, a Leo new moon, like this is the time to set that new intention for this lunar cycle. How do you want to feel? And to start like this week, like we do with all these coffee chats, we start at the week and we plan out how we want to feel. And we put those markers on our calendar to do the things that we have to do, but to like add little things that make you feel, more alive. Like if you want to be more active in your day, like put on a calendar that you're going for a 20-minute walk and have it as a non-negotiable, like if you have a partner or, somebody that you live with, like put it on their calendar so it dings and reminds them that we're going on this walk right now, and to keep each other accountable to do those things. But really, know that you have the authority over your own time and energy, and how you take ownership of that time is how, the rest of the sources, like all the people around you, are going to act. So a lot of times, and I know that as, a mom and a wife and a woman of a household, that a lot of times the energy of the house, the energy of the week starts with me. Like I'm kind of like the vibe beacon, so to say, the vibe beacon. And that if I am, knowing what our plans are for that week or how we should all want to feel that week, and I'm the one taking the steps to really live intentionally, that the rest of the people who live around me kind of follow suit. They don't always, because life's not perfect and everybody is everybody's an individual, but a lot of times, like I'm the starting point. If I'm having a bad day, everybody might have a bad day. You know what I mean? Like if I'm being like the worst, negative, pessimistic self, like that makes my husband act that way. And then he gets defeated, and then the kids get defeated, and then the whole energy kind of falls down. So, give yourself a vibe check every once in a while and say, like, am I leading by example, the energy that I want my, my peers, my family, my life to have also. But yeah, those are some of my, time track. That's something that I know that I could do as somebody. I have 3 children. If you don't know, one's about to be 13, one's about to be 4, and one's about to be 2, all within the last 6 months of the year. And the one that's about to be 4 and the one that's about to be 2, I kind of had them, and I breastfed each one, like one up until having the next one. And then that one, I'm still in a breastfeeding journey. And if I time track how much time I've sat and like breastfed, put a baby to nap, doom scrolled on my phone while I was waiting for, the session to be done, or the nap to start, or the nap to finish. There's so much of my time that like I can't get back, but also time that I won't have, in another 6 months. But to know sometimes how defeating that is, and to time track how much time I've actually spent sitting instead of actively participating. And that can be a really great mind reset of what you need to do to actually plan for your week. Because if you don't want to be sitting and you want to be active and you want to make change, to really reflect on how much actual time you sat and didn't do something that leaned into how you want to feel, how you wanted to live intentionally, then, sometimes that can be a really, kind of a rude awakening, but it's a very much needed awakening, to like really see I'm having a hard time planning, but like, how have I wasted my time? And then also realize if it was a waste of time, or, what is time wasted that like I can't get back, that we're, isn't wasted, but what time is actually wasted? How long did I prolong something? How long did I take extra time watching or doom scrolling because I needed a moment to relax, and you only meant to sit down for 10 minutes and all of a sudden you're sitting down for 3, and you didn't get to do the things that you wanted to do that made you feel intentional in your life, which is why you take this time every week, these Sunday resets, to really hone in on like what you have to do that week, but also give yourselves some time to schedule in the things that make you feel the way that you want to feel. So as I said, as a mapper, a chronic mapper on the expansion archetypes, chronic, seriously chronic. Nothing has ever come close to my mapper. I'm always like 75% mapper. and to really lean into, like I said, this Leo new moon and this Lionsgate portal, which really is a time for, like I said, being like very focused on intention and abundance and manifestation, and really offering some people clarity to show like what they might really want to do, how they want to feel. When you're somebody like me who is a mapper, who sometimes is kind of like, how do I actually want to feel? Like, what is feeling? What do I want to feel? What do I want? That's like a mapper. I mean, a lot of us can actually, I think, relate to that, but it is especially a mapper quality to kind of like doom spiral over like the questions of life, or wanting to know like what to do with yourself. So for me, because I'm a mapper, I might get in my own way. You know, I might be like, okay, this is the week that we're going to like eat really clean because my whole family needs it. And I might get stuck for like 2 hours trying to make a grocery list because I'm overthinking every moment of the groceries, you know, every moment, when really I'm somebody who doesn't need to meal plan. I'm somebody that can cook any dinner that I want to with whatever's in my fridge. So maybe instead I just give myself a small window of time to go to the grocery store, grab some staples, and I don't meal plan because meal planning takes me so much time because I overthink it. You know, if I'm like, I need to clean the house, I might try to make a whole list of all the things we have to do that day, instead of just getting into doing the things, because I'm so busy trying to plan it all out and to like put everybody's time in a place. I am like chronically somebody who is like, oh my gosh, it's already 3 o'clock. The day is over. And my husband's always like, it's only 3 o'clock. There's a whole chunk of the day left. Like he's like always, you know, so positive. There's so many hours of the day. And I'm like, no, there's no time left. We wasted the whole day. It's already 3 o'clock and there's still dishes in the sink. And I immediately start to shut down. And that is not helpful to feeling any way that you want to feel. You know, my intention for this whole year is to feel more alive and to feel more present, which has been difficult for me. Like I said, I'm still in a breastfeeding journey. I've got young children and I'm feeling all the time like I don't spend enough time with any child individually. I'm a working mom. You know, I spend a lot of my time working and then going back to the kids. And it ends up being like, you just feel like you're living, it's like Groundhog's Day, living the same day over and over and over again. And how do we stop and put a pause to that? If you're somebody who just overthinks and gets stuck in that cycle, is what we can do is we can take a little bit of a step back and use some of the tools that we all love in a, you know, witchy parallel magical universe, which we are here at the Sisters Enchanted, and use some of our tools to help kind of plan for your week. Kind of like get, like I said earlier, the vibe check on how we are this week. So one thing you can do is use like some tarot cards or some oracle cards and ask the question, who will I be this week? So that you can kind of like get, like I said, a vibe check on your personal beacon vibe, your vibe beacon that you're going to be putting out into the world. So you can pull a card. Who will I be this week? And as I'm doing that, I'm sitting here shuffling, and oh my goodness gracious, I have the Sun card. How great is that? Especially with like Lionsgate portal and Leo Sun energy, because the Sun in Leo are, you know, two peas in a pod, all that ego, all that passion, all of that confidence zooming out. And for me, all of a sudden, for somebody who overthinks and tends to turn into negative, I all of a sudden feel this energetic, you know, energy through me that I'm going to be the Sun this week. That is such a great vibe to lean into. Like, I'm going to be able to be the Sun this week. This feels so empowering for me. So to pull a card for who will I be this week, to help me tap into my confidence. And if I can remember all week that I am somebody who is, you know, capable all day, every day of having this Sun vibe, this light, this confidence, this passion, this energy that I can then pass on for my family and be this person. Like, think about the Sun, the like warmth and all the stuff that it grows, and, you know, how it nourishes everybody and still, you know, is able to be this light, that I can be the Sun this week. Firstly, that's super empowering. for me. So this is my example right now of me pulling, who am I going to be? Who will I be this week? I will be the sun, which also feels expansive. And that it reminds me that there is so much time in a day, you know, and to maybe not fall into that mindset of, oh, I don't have time. From there, something else that you can use with this tool that you have is to intentionally pull cards to help you like through your vision through the week. So intentionally pulling cards is when you look at cards and you pick ones that are kind of in relation to how you're feeling. Cards that like, that you see the picture and you are like, oh, this is me. So right now I can pull cards for how I'm feeling right now, but then pull cards for how I want my week to go and how I want the vision to change. So I went ahead and I did pull some cards earlier to share and to show like how I might go into this week and how I want to come out on the other side of this week. And then with these ideas, you can help plan your week, you know, intentionally, how you want to feel. So firstly, I pulled the 5 of Swords, and I pulled the 5 of Swords because like in this card specifically, there is this like symbolism of swords going through somebody's hands. There's this orb where I can see like in here that like all things can be tidy and in a container, but that I'm always like fighting myself, that my own overthinking, overcritical, perfectionism, mapper self. I'm also a Virgo, a stellium in Virgo. So I've got a lot of that like super grounded, earthy vibes, but it can be a lot to my detriment. So I'm feeling, you know, very 5 of Swordsy right now, where I'm just like getting in my own way, kind of fighting myself, not leaning into like what is the overall, you know, theme of what I want, you know, for things to be tidy, like well encompassed. A circle has, you know, no rough edges. It just feels like a nice, cozy, you know, containment of things. And I would love for things to be a more cozy, contained space for me instead of chaotic and overwhelming. And so after that, I picked the 2 of Swords because for me, it feels like time to not overthink, but to make decisive action. And for, you know, anybody who doesn't know, the swords really are about thinking and thought processes, and that suit and tarot seems so difficult because our own thoughts can be so hard. But to lean into somebody who's overthinking, like me, I'm overthinking, to lean into those swords cards, to learn when to stop overthinking and to be decisive so that I can really be focused. So from there, I pulled the Queen of coins. I intentionally pulled them. So I went through my deck and I was like, how am I feeling? And I picked the 5 of Swords. And then I was like, how do I stop feeling the 5 of Swords? And I was going through looking at all the pictures and I was like, yes, like cut the shit out, like be decisive, make choices. Don't, like Sarah says, don't flinch, you know, like just make the choice, which is easier said than done, but practicing and just making the choice, if you don't just start doing it and like getting your toes in the water, you'll never do it. And then I have the Queen of Coins, which is my like personal tarot identifier card. But this Queen of Coins just seems like really at peace, like really just, and I see all this green that she's wearing, just feeling like comfortable and at peace with themselves. And then I picked the Fool because this Fool just looks alight and alive in their life with no cares. And as somebody who is a chronic mapper and Virgo, I overthink all of the things. And I know that I am a mapper and I'm a Virgo, and not all of you are mappers and Virgos. But I do know that, you know, as women, we tend to do these things on some sort of level. This like overthinking, this like thought spiral, this like, I don't know, what do you want to do? I don't know, what do you want to do? I don't know what I want to do. What do you want to do? And like not always making the choices to do what we want to do. And last but not least, this deck that I have is has more than just tarot cards in it. It also has astrological and elemental cards. So I pulled the Virgo card because like oftentimes I'm like, oh, I'm so much Virgo, I can't like even connect with the Virgo energy in its strongest, but actually I really can. So I pulled this Virgo card because like in my essence, like I am, you know, I am a Virgo. I've got tons of energy in Virgo, and I can learn to use it in a way that's really productive and that is not a detriment to me, but a superpower, like my Sun card here, and being the best, you know, caring for my life, myself, and all of my family. And so that's kind of like, that can give you a really good kickstart to like, how do you get out of your own way? By pulling a card of what energy you're going to be this week. And on the other end of the spectrum there, I'm going to have a sip of my coffee here real quick. You could also pull a card that is a little bit harder. You know, I pulled the Sun today, but say you pulled the Devil card and you're like, oh no, I'm gonna be this all week. But the thing about knowing that is that you can work with that energy to know when you're falling into it, so that you can be a step ahead of it. So checking in on who will I be this week can give you. So for me, pulling the Sun, this gives me energy to remind myself that I can be light and alive and passionate and confident and energetic, and like keep that vibe, you know, in my household. As somebody, like I said, that has a husband and kids, reminding myself of the Sun will give me energetic pushes to like be in that space. But if I pulled a card, like I said, like the Devil, and I start to like fall into being negative, starting to pull down the energy of my house, I can remind myself that that is an energy that I don't want to be in that week, and then try to switch the narrative in the moment. So having that card at the beginning of your day or of your week to just remind you what energy you might fall into can just help kickstart either stopping the energy that you don't want to be in, or reminding yourself that you're capable of an energy. Which is also, if you pull a card for who am I going to be this week, you can also pull a card intentionally. Like if you want to be the Sun, go find it in your deck of cards and put it on your counter and say like, I'm going to be the Sun. Like no matter what, I'm going to be the Sun, and remind yourself of this every day, and look at that calendar, look at how much time you've put into being the energy that you want to be, and have it aligned with how you intended to be. Like I said, intentional card pulls, you know, it can be really super helpful. Let me see. So I see like randomly pull the cards without looking at them first, specifically find a card, just having whatever your intention was that you pulled face down. So I pulled who am I going to be this week card up. Or not card up. I like pulled it like I was doing like a intuitive pull for myself. So there's intuitive card pulls and there's intentional card pulls. So intuitive is like when you're shuffling through your deck and you're not looking, and you pull a card and you're like, okay, this is what I'm going to be for this week. Intentionally pulling is where like you look at all of your cards and you're like, okay, how am I feeling? Like what card right now most embodies how I'm feeling? So I intuitively picked one for whom I'm going to be this week, but I intentionally pulled cards for like the energy I'm feeling now, and then the energy that I want to feel by the end of the week, to kind of help show me a story of what I want to be. Like I don't want to be in the Five of Swords mindset. I don't want to be in my own way. When I'm in my own way and I'm not focusing, I hurt myself, I hurt my family unintentionally, like not on purpose, but because like I get chaotic. My words can get chaotic. My actions can become chaotic, but like that's not how I want to be. And so I pulled cards to show me the progression of where I am right now, how I'm feeling right now, and then how I want to be at the end of it. And then when you have this kind of story laid out for you, you can also then go back in and plan your time about like, how can I like do the things? Like, how can I, what activities or what, you know, time in my week can I put down in my calendar, make time for, to feel these ways? You know, I might need to declutter my house. I might not need to declutter my house. I need to declutter my house. There are kids' toys everywhere for days. And I have a hard time getting rid of toys because I'm like, oh, well, they played with that and they loved it that one time, you know, 6 months ago. And I don't make decisive action. And instead, I've got to put on my big girl pants and be like, yes, no. The answer is yes or no. We're keeping it or we're not keeping it. Instead of like taking every toy and like reminiscing, I just need to make the action, and maybe even give myself, Anna, you're going to organize toys and you have 1 hour in this room to do toys. And you have to get through this many bins of toys in an hour. And if I give myself a time to start and a time to end, it reduces my ability to overthink what I have to do. You know, so if I plan in my week that I'm going to give my hour to declutter the toys, I have to start making decisive action, or I won't stay within the time that I've given myself to do that project. It's about being really intentional with what time you have. And I know that I'm not always decisive, and that I, kick the bucket thinking, and that's not very helpful. And just as a side talk, and you can do it whatever way you want. You can pull intentionally or intuitively, whatever way feels really great for you. And to know that if you do pull a card that's a little bit more like hard, or I'm going to say negative with air quotes, in energy, to take like a deep breath and like really understand like what that card means, or what it can mean to you. So in the world of tarot, there are some cards that can be a little bit tough. And just a reminder, if you're, we do have our tarot event. If you're part of a Holistic Witchery or an Enchanted Journey, or, Tarot Throwdown or Magical Self-Care, you were invited to a tarot event. And we're going to talk lots of great things this week. But I'm seeing even the idea of like the Tower card, for instance, and how like pulling the tarot card could be like, oh my goodness, like who am I going to be this week? The Tower. Like what do I do with that energy? But for me, the Tower card is actually can be a super invigorating card. How do you look at the Tower? So the Tower is upheaval. It's like sudden change, almost like unprepared for change. You have this vision of people jumping out of a tower. You have this idea that it's like storming, things are on fire, and people have nowhere to go but to jump out a window. And so when you pull that card, you can be like, oh my goodness, I just pulled the Tower card. But a lot of times the energy of the Tower card is to take control of something. So when we look at, when we use tools for ourselves, like tarot, like astrology, these are all potential energies that can be happening. It's not like saying that a Tower moment's going to happen this week. It's not saying that you're going to have like this sudden upheaval. It's talking about this energy that like could be happening. Now, can a sudden upheaval happen? Absolutely. Life happens to everybody, but the Tower card specifically offers us this moment to know that energy is piling up, and that it's going to have no other option but to change. And that you can take that energy saying, who am I going to be this week? And you get the Tower, instead of letting your life come crashing down on you, like getting overstimulated, getting angry, falling into really shadowy energies like resentment or guilt or shame, or like I said, like getting angry and being like, oh, this is so like life's like crashing in on me, not actually crashing in on you, but like energetically crashing in on you, can feel like this big like warning. And then you're gonna be like all week long like, oh my goodness, everything's crashing down on me, that freaking Tower. But the Tower actually can be a reminder that you can take action to not let this happen, like to not let this energy happen. And instead of like outside forces making you feel like you have no escape, or making you feel like your whole world is like not right, instead to like be the drastic change. Like if you, again, using an example for myself as somebody with three kids of varying ages, like sometimes it can get really loud in my house, and I'm somebody who gets like very overstimulated. And when all my kids are running around and yelling and crying because people aren't sharing, or like want 5 different things for lunch, I can get really overstimulated. And if I had pulled who am I going to be this week, and I pulled the Tower card, I might in a second there think, oh goodness, instead of me exploding right now and like upheaving my whole house because I'm going to get overwhelmed, I'm going to get angry, I'm going to get frustrated and impatient, maybe you decide to create your own Tower moment, and you upheave the moment, and you put all your kids in the car, you take them to a playground, you take them to a beach, and you let them run it out there where they're now distracted, and that energy is not coming at you. You've upheaved the moment. So to take cards as an opportunity to reevaluate what you do in the moment, and that, yeah, cards aren't good or bad, that they're just these energies in a moment to take and into consideration as you're living your day, and to know that like I said, I pulled the Sun for who will I be this week. And that doesn't mean that I'm going to just be like perky, happy go lucky all week, but it might mean that I we'll have moments where I'm down, but I might be able to think to myself, but I'm going to be the sun this week. And that little moment of just reminding myself that like I have the capacity to be the sun this week. I have the potential to be the sun this week can really help you, rewrite a moment of your energy to start stepping into that energy more. And so for me too, every week, like if we want to know how we want to feel at the end of the week and we want to plan our days to how we want to feel, throughout the week, because I'm a mapper and because I'm a Virgo, I might have a hard time deducing how I want to feel that this week. And I'm like, I don't know, like fuck if I know who I want to be this week. I'll just think on it for 4 days, and then like never actually land on something and then like waste a week of intentional living. But who am I going to be this week? And pulling the sun card, I can be like, wow, that feels really great. Like somebody this week, I can really focus on being positive, trying to be, be more aware of the light that I'm putting onto other people and aware of my energy and how it shines on other people and what kind of energy do I want to shine out on other people. So that is a really great way too, to just give yourself a kickstart to how you might want to feel intentionally if you're struggling to how you want to feel intentionally. So like if you did pull the card, who am I going to be this week? And you got something like the Tower, that doesn't mean that you're going to be the Tower all week and you're going to like mess everything up. But instead you could be like, okay, well, how do I intentionally lean into like making the changes myself so that they're not abrupt, so that they don't shake things up, but they shake things up for a good reason. Like I make the changes that have to be done. I oftentimes explain the Tower card like playing Jenga. When you're playing Jenga and like, somebody's about to lose. That like you're going to lose, but you sit there and you stare at all the blocks for like 10 minutes trying to figure out what block to pull because you like don't want to lose. But really at this point, the game is no fun. Like everybody's just waiting for the blocks to crash and everybody jumps, even though they know it's going to happen. But at this point, you're just like waiting. You're like, I want to start over. I want new Jenga blocks. And sometimes it's just better to pull the block that is going to like blow up the whole thing so that you can rebuild it and have fun again, starting at the beginning where it's like, less risk and it feels less stressful, so that's very Tower to me. Like just pull the freaking block, let it all crash so you can build it again and start having fun again. Like do the thing. And yeah. And not for nothing, if you've never, we have lots of old blog posts in our sistersenchanted.com. And a while ago, I wrote a blog post called Tower, a Love Story, because if you don't know, my name is Anna Tower. That's my real last name, Tower. And I pulled the Tower card, no joke, and I have lots of tarot decks. So these 2 shelves, actually there's 3, you just can't see the other one, are all full of tarot and oracle decks, like stacked all against each other. And every time I did like a deck interview or every time I went to pull a card for the week or 3 cards for the week, I got the Tower card. Like no joke, got the Tower card. I was like, why is the Tower card haunting me? Like, why is it haunting me? Like, what's going to happen? Am I going to lose my job? Am I going to lose my apartment? Is my car going to break down? Like, what am I going to do? And I was worried because literally for like a year, almost every big spread, every new deck, the first card I pulled was the Tower card. Well, like a year of this happening, I reconnected with my now husband, whose last name is Tower. We were best friends in high school. We started hanging out and got married, now have 2 kids together, and his last name is Tower. And now my last name is Tower. And for that, it was almost like your Tower moment's going to happen. And it is going to be an upheaval. But like, I also then became a Tower myself and really actually helped, a lot of my understanding about tarot in this like weird little moment. But that like all of these things all these cards have so much possibility and that they're not just one size shoe fits all. And that if you want to lean into using them, as a tool to like really not let your mind get ahead of it and to like instead look at it as possibility and energy that you can lean into or lean away from when you're using these tools like tarot or like astrology. Like this Lionsgate portal, people are like, oh, this is energy for big intention setting, for like getting like really some huge clarity on what my intention is going to be, because the portal is going to make me so much more in tuned with things. And it might, but also to like not let that energy take over. You know, it's a tool to like sit down and like I said, step into that Leo energy and take a leadership role about like how you really want to feel. Because we just, like I said, we just had Lunasta. Say that like 5 times fast. And it's our first of the harvest seasons and like what we're harvesting, but we're still in this time where we can still grow things and decide, have we been harvesting things like doom scrolling, wasting time? And we can still replant the ideas to rewrite that ship so that when the harvest season continues and we start getting into the more darker months of the year, we can change what we've been harvesting and start writing that ship kind of like now. It's a great time to like rewrite the things. So I'm going to kind of like look back here at this point from our, you know, our chat here about all of this energy. And yeah, see how I can, you know, help any thoughts out. So I see the question. So if you intuitively pull a card like the Devil card or the Tower card and it's upside down when you pull it, does that mean the opposite of what's going to happen, or did I just flip it wrong? That's, you know, really up to you, however you want to do it. For me personally, I don't like seeing physical reversals. They hurt my eyes. So I always look at my cards right side up, and I always just take into consideration both sides of the ship. So typically with reversals, it can mean one thing standing up and then kind of means the opposite or more of a barrier when it's a reversal. And I just kind of look at it at both sides. So like I was saying with the Tower card, it could be a sudden upheaval that takes you by surprise because you're just not like realizing that things are about to change. Or you can realize that like you have to be the person that starts the change, and you can keep in mind like both sides of that card to lean into how it's going to like help you best. But really, there's no wrong way to do it. If you pulled it upside down and you feel like it means that this is not going to happen this week, and that's your first gut instinct, then always recognize that first gut instinct and go with that, because that's your intuition coming through, and there are no wrong answers when your intuition hits first. Yeah. So everybody, let's just take a deep breath real quick. Coffee chat, planning for the week ahead. And to really lean into this Leo new moon, Lionsgate portal, and say, like, if I was the Mufasa in my own life, you know, like, how would I control this week? How would I do this week in a way that was the most uplifting and helpful to how I want to feel this week? So when you take this time to plan out your week, like I said, always go in first and know, how do you want to feel a week from now? And think about that. If you're not sure, use some of those tools like your tarot cards to pull, you know, who I'm going to be this week, so that you can really like navigate maybe an intention for the week. You know, if you pulled, you know, the Devil, your intention could be like to not feel like caught up in chaos. And then pull out your calendar, your Google Calendar on your phone, and put in all the things that you have to do. Like, you have to do this dinner date, you have to do this birthday party, you have to do this doctor's appointment. And then start putting in the things that really highlight how you want to feel. And Sarah always talks about how she has non-negotiables. Like, she has to go for a walk every day. She has to do this thing. She has to do this thing, because some things are so important to her, like what, like her well-being and how she wants to live, that you make time for those non-negotiables. And like, you let the people around you know that this is a non-negotiable. And if you're having a hard time planning out your week and you're like, I don't have time to plan out my week, I'm so overwhelmed, time track for a week. How long did it take you to get out of bed in the morning? How long did you spend on YouTube? How long did you spend, you know, staring at your dishes in the sink, feeling overwhelmed, like you're never going to get it clean, instead of just starting to do a dish at a time and like actually time track it? Like, I sat down on the couch at 10:50 and then realized I doom scrolled till 12:30. and write that down. And what could you have done in that time to feel the way that you wanted to feel? Because I assure you that if you were on YouTube or Instagram for that long and watched other people living their lives, that you did not feel the way that you wanted to feel in your life when you were done watching it. And what could I have done in that time instead to feel the way that I want to feel? Because sometimes time tracking really helps hold a mirror to yourself so that you can see like why you're not doing the things, or how much time you actually have to do the things that help you live the life that you want to live. And so that if you're having a hard time planning out your week, or you're not sure what that looks like, just do some time tracking along with the week. And if you had things on your calendar, like going for a walk, or, going to get a pedicure because you need it and it's going to make you feel good, but then you're like, I didn't have time. I just didn't do the things I wanted to do this week. But then you see all the things that you did this week that like you didn't want to do, but you got caught doing regularly, and then realize that in all of those moments you could have done the things you wanted to do. It can be a really great aha moment to show like how much time you're actually putting into things that aren't serving you at all. And I know for me, as somebody who's a chronic overthinker and mapper who thinks I've lost the plot of the day, thinks that like when we hit 2-3 o'clock that the whole day is over, to like actually look where you spent the rest of your time to see like, I actually probably had hours more of the day. I just didn't utilize them properly. And sometimes just tracking that can help really reframe yourself. And then you can try to schedule out another week to work against those times that you got stuck somewhere else. It can really help sometimes. So y'all, that was our Sunday check-in together. I hope that you spend some time this week, embracing your inner Mufasa and knowing like how to be the leader in your own life. I talk about this if you've been at the Sisters Enchanted for any length of time, and I talk about Leo energy, and we talk about ego, and ego oftentimes has a bad connotation associated with it, but ego is so important. We all have an ego, and we all have to feel healthy in that ego. And so I oftentimes talk about the Lion King, how Mufasa is healthy ego, balanced ego, tells Simba when he's scared, but is like a great leader, is empathetic and understanding. But then we have ego that's over ego. And then we have somebody like Scar, who like thinks that they deserve everything, blames everything on everybody else because like they're not, living in their life. They're just living in the should be's, what I was owed, and like doesn't get anywhere because they're so living in like the negative thought process that like their ego, they just think that they deserve everything. And then we have Simba, who is the undernourished ego, who like doesn't even remember who they are, thinks that like they don't deserve anything, and has to do this whole like amount of self-actualization and shadow work to even like start to become balanced. And that we can look at that in ourselves. Like, are we in a Scar mentality? Are we in a Simba mentality? Like, how do we get to be a little bit more Mufasa? And I know that sounds really silly, but it can really help, think about it. If you're having like a day and you're like, everything sucks, like this day didn't go how I planned it to, and it's everybody's fault, you might be living in a Scar mentality. And how do I bring it back down to be more fun and to live intentionally? And like I said, be the beacon vibe for the rest of your family. And so, that's kind of my thought there. So that's it for me. I would love to see, and when we put this replay up, probably tomorrow, I would love to see if you pulled a card for who will I be this week, and let me know if it helped you plan your week or helped you kind of get ahead of your week, and how it made you feel. The deck I was using today was the Spolia Tarot, SPOLI Tarot. I'm not sure if it's still in print, but it is the Spolia Tarot, and it's one of my favorites. So you can look it up. And next week, I believe for Coffee Chat, we have our very own Naomi Harris, who is going to be really great. And I'm so excited for you to have a moment with her next week to get yourself in order and get planned for the week ahead. And I hope that this I hope that this helped you take control of your week, even if you're somebody who's a little unsure of how to take control of your weeks. And I hope that this Lionsgate portal leads you into some really great confidence and taking control of the second half of the year. Use this energy as a repositioning, as a jump start for the second half of the year. Because if you haven't been feeling the way that you wanted to for the first half of the year, this is the time to right the ship. And this extra Lionsgate Pearl energy just might give you the little extra pizzazz you need to get it right, or as close to right, because it's never going to be perfect. But we're just going to do our best to live our most magical lives, because as Sarah always says, you were born magic. You just have to remember that you are. So I'll see you around, everybody. Thanks so much for sitting with me. I really enjoyed having you all with me today, and I'll see you over in the community. Thanks so much. Thank you, everybody.
If you love the podcast, be sure to leave us a rating or a review. That helps us to get the word out about all we're doing here at the Sisters Enchanted. Thanks for being part of our community, and we'll see you in the next episode.